I've recently been receiving a lot of comments about how Revive Your Drive, the book I wrote, came about, and a lot of people asking questions like, how did you create it or write it, and why? And really, the reason I wrote the book is I was depressed, and I didn't even realize that I was depressed. I was, I don't know, 70, 80 pounds overweight, and I wasn't really happy with my life or the things that were going on. It wasn't that I was really unhappy. I think it was that I was I was too comfortable in the job that I was at. This was back in 2002, and I was working at Charles Schwab, and it's a company that I loved. I absolutely loved working there. But it was just, it was very comfortable, and I didn't feel challenged. I didn't feel like I was doing what I was meant or what I was born to do. And after I was laid off, I started looking back on the times I was most happy in my life, and that really was back in college up at the University of Northern Colorado when I was student body president in 1995, and I had so much confidence. I ran for mayor at the time, and it just seemed like everything I touched turned to gold. And I really wanted that drive and that momentum back. I wanted that same feeling, that passion I had, that drive, that knowing that you can do anything you want to do. And so I looked around for different books that were about drive and how you gain it and how you obtain it and how you cultivate it and build it and create it. Because I'd done it before, so I knew it was possible. I just had this limiting belief in my head that maybe I was too old to be driven, or maybe it just wasn't possible at my age, which was ridiculous. I look back on it now, I think it's so silly. But at the time, I really believed it, And so I started writing a journal, just keeping notes, and what I was doing, because I couldn't find a book about drive. So I wrote this journal, and I was writing about different experiences I had, and I really was focusing on the experiences that I had when I was up in college, and I started writing down things that I did, and things that I was able to accomplish, and how I accomplished that, and where my mind was at the time, and what type of things I was thinking about in my head, and what type of things were I writing down, or was I mapping out. I looked at all the little details in this journal, and in the journal, it just got huge. It ended up being, I don't know, it was like 150, 200,000 words, and I took that journal and I gave it to a publisher one time, and I was thinking, oh, I've got a book written. I mean, this journal could be a book, and I gave it to the editor, and she took a look at it. She had it for about a week, and she gave it back to me a week later and handed it to me and said, she's like, this needs a lot of work. I would suggest you start over. And immediately I thought, it was so huge, and it took so long for me to get those words and thoughts organized in my head and just get them out of my head onto this paper, that to start it over seemed kind of like a daunting task. But I'm really glad she did, because my thoughts were so much more organized, and I understand a lot more about myself after writing the book than I did before, because I re-examined what I examined, and then I learned how to teach what I learned about myself in the past. And through the whole process, really what I found out was that during times that we're happy and excited about our life, we do things that we normally may not do in our lives. And a lot of times we get so comfortable that we don't have to. We kind of avoid those things that are scary or frightening to us. And what came out of the book Revive Your Drive really was learning and making lists of things that I used to do that I no longer did. And once I started doing those things, everything about my life started changing. And it started changing quickly. I mean, it didn't take long. And I applied those things, and as I wrote, I just became more and more passionate about the story, and wanting to teach other people how to do the same thing and become driven and excited again in their lives, and that it's not a one-shot thing. You don't have to. I remember my grandfather was in World War II, and he would always talk about World War II, and it wasn't that World War II was a great experience for him. I mean, I guess it meant a lot to him to save the country, and really, do a lot for the United States. But it was kind of his defining moment, and it defined who he was, and that was because he chose to. It wasn't because he couldn't do something later on in life. It's just that he never felt that anything was more important than being in the war. And so I guess I had this preconceived notion that my greatest time was in college, and I wouldn't be able to live it again. And that's really where this book came from, was a journal, and it was designed to be very short. I designed it to be short, and I wanted every single page to just be exciting. Because there was a lot of motivational books that I read, and there'd be certain parts in those books that would just drive me. I'm like, whoa, I couldn't stop reading. I just had to go, and I'd just get more and more excited as I'd go, and then it would drop off. There were parts of the book that seemed to get boring and it seemed to not be very exciting. And I wanted to write a book, or read a book, really at first, that was just exciting. Every single page just excited you, every little thing. And what I did in this book is I wanted to make sure that the motivation would just continue and continue on. Here's the chapter, Destroy Depression Forever. And really, in just this chapter, it talks about depression is a belief. So if you change what you believe, then you don't have to be depressed. The reason you're depressed is because you believe you are. But all throughout the whole book, it's short, so you don't have to read it all at once. And I wouldn't even suggest it. I'd suggest a chapter a night, because the chapters are really only, the average length is 3 pages. So read 3 pages a night and get yourself pumped up, and move forward and live your dreams, because that's the purpose behind this book. I want you to live your dreams. I want everybody to live their dreams, because we're all one people, and the better you do, the better everybody else does. Your friends, your family, everything else. So buy it. It's at rollawaybay.com. You can always go to kenallendavid.com. But I want you to live the best life you can.